If you've been following along with this series, you've already learned a lot about making stuffed animals, but we're not done yet. You still have to sew all of the pieces together, which is exactly what I'm showing you how to do today. So next, after the ears are attached, we will attach the head to the body. And I've seen a few people make the mistake of trying to sew this on either all on the white or all on the orange, and it looks really funny. But what we're gonna do is, it won't be matched up exactly, but kind of try to put it like this, where it's just resting that way and it's looking forward and not up or down. The reason I start with the head instead of the arms or legs is because whichever way the head goes on, if it looks a little bit crooked, that's okay, but you can sew the arms on in a way that relates to the positioning of the head. And then I will just stitch right here. I can go ahead and take that out because I don't need it anymore. And the hard part is just holding it in place, which I do think that it works the best if you can grasp the body, but then use these two, I don't know what you want to call them, viper fangs, to hold on to the head. Constantly checking. And then we will just kind of catch the edge of that on the body and stitch through around the head. We're not going to be going in a straight line because, as you see, then you would end up going this way. Just free form, catching that little loop on the edge there and then stitching through the head wherever it meets. I find it's best to start out maybe stitching a little bit smaller area on the head, and then when you're done, if you feel like it's not a stable enough base, you can stitch around it again, catching a little bit more. All right, see what happens when you let go? Whenever you lose it, you need to kind of gather yourself again and match it up before you move on. And here's where this curved tip comes in handy. If you turn it this way, it's a little easier to scoop in through there than it is with just a straight tip needle. One thing you do want to make sure is that you're stitching on the back of the body into the main color of the head here and not into this white undercolor, because that'll look really weird. Now that we've gotten a little bit further, we can tuck these ends inside the body. I'm going to save these in case we need those to sew around the front. Check again. This is also a good time if you feel like this is a little too hollow at the top. You can add a pinch more stuffing. That way you don't get that droopy, saggy head. And there's my marker for where I want this and this to meet up with, so now I'm going to start sewing towards that way on the head. Okay, whew, this is like nearly headless Nick over here. And at this point, on this pattern at least, if you want to switch to the white, you can. It's not necessary, but I think I'm going to, just because I can. Now we're pretty much home free. We're going to stitch across here, not exactly in a straight line, but kind of curving around. So if you want to mark the front point where it will meet up, you can. Just to see how I did that again. You hold it how you like the head positioned, and then check where it meets, and then just stick your needle in through those stitches that touch right there, and then you can grab your safety pin and put it right here. One last chance to check if it needs more stuffing. I've had a few too many floppy heads, so I am going to put just a little bit more in there. That might be too much. Yeah, it's a little too much. Just a pinch. And you want to tuck it in as well as you can because these fibers do like to stick to everything. Ooh. Okay. Now we'll come right up here where we left off and start stitching toward that marker. Now's your chance to check. If it's not positioned how you want it to be, you can always take all the stitches out and start again. Or, like I said, you can say if it's looking up too high, you can stitch back across this way and actually stitch it together a little more. And I actually am going to do that with this one. So I'll come on down just a little bit lower on the body, just a little bit, and a little bit higher up on the face. If it was looking down too low, you could do this on the back side. That looks good. Oh, and look at that, all of our yarns are on the same side. Well, I am going to take this orange one over there while I tie these in a knot together. You don't want to tie knots when you're knitting sweaters or socks or things like that, but in stuffed animals, knots are a good thing. They're gonna get lots of love, maybe even a little abuse from some young ones. And then like we did before, we'll just stitch right into there at the base of that knot. Come out wherever you feel like. Pull it until the knot goes inside. And then if you're really confident about your head placement, just go ahead and snip it. Away it goes. Same with this one. So these arms, you want to attach a little bit at an angle, like this. That's about how it looks from the front. So just wherever you had it, you'll stitch straight across, catching that top edge. Don't worry about sewing through both sides of it at the same time because that'll make it stick straight out from the body a little bit too much. I'm just doing a little bit of a whip stitch here. Nothing fancy. Yeah, I like how that looks. And then if you want to, you can kind of catch this a little bit lower down, similar to how we did the ears. I think I am going to do that. Little floppy arm is okay, but I don't like it when they just keep floating up. And I do want it to be a little more secure. So I'm going to come down about this much further and catch the bottom edge of this arm. Like I always say with these, there's a lot of intuition involved. It's not an exact science, so it's good to always play around. And I've knit these foxes quite a few times, and each time I do it, I feel like they work a little bit differently. So you just play with it until it's how you like it. I actually don't like that as much as when it was just on the top. So I'm gonna stitch one more down here and catch about like that. And then again, and then a little bit up this way. See, for every stitch I take on the body, I'm just mirroring it on the arm. Now we will stitch in through here. I'm gonna come out underneath before I make the knot. Make it in his armpit. Sorry, dude. Bury it the same way as all the others. So then you would repeat that on the other side with the other arm. This leg will be facing this direction. It's kind of got his little hips right there. So you want to hold both of the legs up to it. See how you like it. If you want him to be more down or more forward, if he's like sitting. I think that looks weird. So I'm gonna do them just angled slightly forward. He doesn't really stand up on his own, but you don't want him to be like this or like that. Okay, that looks about right. I'm gonna hold it right there. Sometimes I might even stitch from one leg to the other and back and forth through the body if I want it to be a little more cinched down here. I don't think I'm gonna do that this time. We'll see how it goes. So we'll take this and just attach it right here. Still keeping a pretty firm grip on it, using your claw fingers again. Just come back through there again. And kind of just around the edge. Okay, now I'm going to turn him around. Still want it to be about here. So I am stitching right where it meets up, right here. And through the leg again. Holding it there, I want it to be... Now you can let go of it, see how it's hanging. Not so good, so we're gonna keep going around a little bit more. A little further down this way and then on towards the front. So now we're working on the front. This is where it's really going to hold it in place. Oops. Don't be intimidated by this, guys. It's actually really fun. Playing around with putting everything just where you want it. You get to be the judge. And you'll end up kind of right back around where you started. Yep, right back where we started. I like how that looks. You can leave this here until you sew on the other leg, and then kind of, if you need to do some adjusting to make them match up, you can. You can also, I don't like how that looks, so I might stitch down and tighten that up a little bit. So I like to fold the tail in half so that it's bound off right here, kind of in the middle, and then I'll sew it on flat like the ears, checking to make sure it's in a position that I like, and then I will sew across this way and then back this way. That way I can make sure it's pretty centered. And I'll catch the front of it even though I started with the yarn on the back. That flattens it up nicely. Then we can just stitch right back through here and go across the other way. I don't think I even need to sew across that edge, since we kind of caught it with how we started it, but I will tie a knot. Tie a knot right down here. And that's how that's done. Then you would just sew on the other leg and arm, obviously, and next thing you know, you've got one of these. Now they're a family. Aww. Oh, it looks like Fluffy, the three-headed dog.